Hello there everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's Space Cowboy here with another video for you guys here today, and we have to discuss the colossal matchup that's set to take place on Sunday Night Football when the Dallas Cowboys host the Philadelphia Eagles, where this matchup will not just determine how the rest of the NFC East title might play out, this will also determine how the rest of the NFC playoff picture looks like. And we know that other teams will be watching this game, like San Francisco and Detroit, to see can they have an avenue to get the number one seed. Can Dallas's hopes stay alive to win the NFC East? All of that is going to be involved with this game. So we'll talk about the ramifications. We'll talk about what this game means for both teams. And then, of course, what they have to do to win this game. So the first thing I wanted to talk about were the ramifications of this game, since this is a huge matchup for both teams. Let's start off with the Cowboys since they're hosting this game. The Cowboys are 9-3, and they're coming off of a 10-day rest period or a mini-bye, whatever you wish to refer to it as, after going down a stretch of games where they played 3 games in 10 to 12 days. That's a brutal stretch, and we do this every single year. And they went undefeated in that stretch, so that's great. And you look at their last game when they played Seattle. It was a game where neither team punted. It's the 5th time in NFL history where neither team punted. And you look at how the Cowboys played that game offensively and defensively. On the offensive side of the ball, Dak Prescott's been cooking. He's been doing his thing. The Cowboys have been using a lot more motion, passing on first down, using the pass to establish the run. They've been doing a lot of things that we've been clamoring for them to do. And Mike McCarthy's been instrumental in those changes. As a result, that offense is continuing to hum, especially at home, and they did enough to get the job done, in terms of matching what Seattle was doing on the offensive side of the ball against the Cowboys defense. The Cowboys defensively looked lost, and, I don't want to take away with what Geno Smith and that Seattle offense did that day, because it was clear that they needed to win that game because they're going down a brutal stretch of games where now they are going to be playing San Francisco, then they're going to be playing Philadelphia after they play San Francisco, and they're a stingy-ass team, that's for sure. And so the Cowboys did what they had to do to make enough plays offensively and just enough plays on defense to close the game out. And so now you look at those types of games and you say, okay, we got out of that stretch. We're 9-3. Now we're going up against a division rival, which you felt like you should have beat them the last time if it wasn't for your right tackle not playing well and a couple other circumstances. And the Cowboys will be saying to themselves, hey, if we can win this game, we can get some fantastic momentum before we go out on the road versus Miami and Buffalo. And then on top of that, we stay in line with a race to win the division title and possibly the NFC's number one seed. But other teams will be also most likely rooting for the Cowboys, like San Francisco, for example, and Detroit, because if they take care of business, then you see Philadelphia lose to Dallas, and they're now 10-3. The Cowboys are 10-3. The 49ers are 10-3, and Detroit gets in the mix. It's going to be a tight race for the NFC's number one seed as we get to the final stretch for this season. Then you look at the Eagles. The Eagles are coming off an embarrassing loss at home versus San Francisco, where if they had won that game, you then shift the pressure to all the other teams because we have tiebreakers, and realistically all we got to do is just take care of business at the end of our season and we'll be the number one seed in the road to the Super Bowl. We'll go through Philadelphia. But this is a huge game for Philly in the sense of you can't let Dallas have a massive confidence boost before they go out on the road to end their season. But also you don't want to be in a situation where you drop 2 straight games. Now you're 10-3 and you haven't fixed the issues that have plagued you all season with having good starts in the first half, being able to ensure that your defense plays well, weird play calling from your offensive coordinator, all that other stuff. So the way that I look at it is that for Philadelphia, them winning this game would basically make them the NFC East Division champions and pretty much put them back in the driver's seat in the sense of they are still in the route to win the number one seed in the NFC, but they don't want to have a situation where you're getting stressed down the end of the season where now we have no choice but to win every single game, and God forbid we get upset in one of those games, and I'm not saying that that won't happen to the Cowboys either, because that's definitely a possibility, because it's the NFL and anything can happen on any given Sunday or whenever the hell you play. But you don't want to be stressed as you're going down the end of the season. You're thinking, oh shit, we have to win this game. We got to press to win this game. And Philadelphia's a well-coached team. They got a fantastic roster. And I don't think that's going to happen to them. But the last thing you want to do as a squad going into this game is have those thoughts creep in, as then you got to go on the road to Seattle. And as a side note, the Seahawks have beaten the Eagles every single matchup since 2008. And considering that, you're seeing some of these matchups go certain ways, where now for the first time the Jets beat the Eagles, and then you talk about how the Cowboys beat the Jets for the first time in however many years since 2007, 2008. I mean, stuff happens. So I'm not saying that that's going to stick, but that's why it's a huge game for Philadelphia. Keep up their momentum and not continue to let them slide as we get towards the end of the regular season. And we also kind of mentioned in the side note about how the other teams will be watching. So what do the Cowboys have to do to win this game? For me, it's similar to the Seattle game. It's going to come down to the Cowboys defense versus the Philadelphia offense. The way that I look at it is you can't let opportunities go by you. You can't be in a situation where if Jalen Hurts throws you a pass that you should intercept or it's a fumble, you got to get on that, right? Don't put them in 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1 situations. You want to make sure that you are limiting Jalen Hurts to the pocket and not allowing him to run around. And the Cowboys have struggled with that, and so I'm really curious to see how things go in this particular game. The other thing, too, is that on the offensive side of the ball, you need to set the tone early. You got to score quick and fast, and you need to make sure that you put the pressure back on Philly to do things. Because kind of going back to what I was saying, like how I felt like the Cowboys should have won that game is, offensively you were moving the ball. There's no question about it. And keep in mind, Philly will be at full strength now because they're bringing guys back into the fold like Dallas Goedert, which will be a huge addition to their offense. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Cowboys handle him. But I expect that Dallas Goedert will have a huge game. I really do think that. And I think that for Dallas, the big thing too is just you need to not miss out on points in the red zone. I think that if you are able to capitalize and get points and then just be like, okay, Philly, it's your turn to score, and they don't score, and you can go down the field and score again, this can, you can try to avalanche points. And the only way where the Cowboys, in my opinion, will lose this game is that if the defense, I know this sounds so goddamn cliche, but just hear me out, is if the defense has a repeat performance or something similar to what happened versus Seattle, and the Cowboys offense doesn't keep it up. People talk about Dak Prescott being in the MVP conversation, Jalen Hurts being in the, like, both of them have to show up and do their thing. Like, if Dak Prescott wants to stay in the conversation, the Cowboys as a team need to continue to win, but also he needs to play well. And the same thing goes for Jalen Hurts, where it's been a weird situation for him because the team's been doing well, but if they lose another game and he doesn't put up a nice little stat line, that unfortunately that's just how the MVP is. And like you have a guy like Brock Purdy now in the MVP conversation because of what he did versus Philadelphia. So we'll see how things go. But who do I think wins this game? So at the beginning of the season, I talked about how I felt like the Cowboys and Eagles were going to split. Both of them were going to win their respective home games. And I'm going to stick to that here. I think the Cowboys win this game. It's not going to be a blowout by any means for either side. I do think the Cowboys win this game by a final score of 31-27 on the final drive. I think that it's just going to come down to the fourth quarter, Dak Prescott getting the ball back and, taking care of business, really. I think that that's how I think this game's going to go. I could be wrong, and I really don't care, but Cowboys need to win this game if they want to have any shot of winning the NFC East title. I do know that if the Cowboys win, and I think the same goes for Philly. Well, Philly has a little bit less tiebreakers than me. If Dallas does win this game, if certain matchups go certain ways, the Cowboys can clinch as early as this week. So, very fun stuff, ladies and gentlemen. And anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will catch you guys out after the game, and hopefully the Cowboys have won. But with that being said, I'll see you guys later. Have a good one, guys. Goodbye.